Hello, everyone. Tyler here, and welcome to WNBA free agency. The talks are opening up. Contracts can't be signed yet, but today talks can officially go down. And frankly, pretty quickly, we've gotten some major nuggets of news that changed the landscape of WNBA free agency. I mean, Unrivaled is changing the game, and it is very interesting to see how this is happening, whether just being a host location for meetings and dialogue, to it being a place for free agents to show off new things, to try and raise their stock. But some of these meetings that are going down in Miami revolve around a star in the WNBA. Brittney Griner is going to test the market for the first time in her career as WNBA free agency opens. Doug Feinberg of the AP reporting this, OG in the women's basketball game. Unexpected is one way to put this about BG. Has never tested free agency, has always just re-signed with the Phoenix Mercury. An interesting time to decide to do this. I want to highlight a couple of the things here from this article. Again, has always re-signed, but also I want to show off my skills for free agency. Griner said of playing in the new league. With all due respect, this, as the article notes here, this league is not built for Brittney Griner. It's not. When it comes to the pace, the space, the perimeter defending you have to do, the pick and roll defense you have to do, this is not built for BG. So frankly, when it comes to showing off the skills, Unrivaled doesn't feel like the place to do that for BG. But I mean, this is obviously game changing when it comes to what free agency looks like. If free agency and when it comes to potentially available trade targets and players that are now on the market, you're looking at Jewel Lloyd. You're looking at potentially you're looking at Kelsey Plum, Kelsey Mitchell, Kennedy Carter is on unrestricted free agent if that is someone you're interested in. Satou is kind of the lone forward here when it comes to your star players that you're thinking about. This now adds a true 5 into the mix here for potential teams to go inside. BG is obviously is getting older and is not the same player that she once was, but BG is still a good player and certainly can add to your team. And so to have this addition into the free agency market, seemingly out of nowhere from the outside looking in perspective here, this changes the landscape of what teams can go out and get in WNBA free agency. So for that right there alone is going to be massive. I am shocked that Brittney Griner wants to leave Phoenix. Again, as noted, always re-signed. Since 2013 has always re-signed. I am shocked that whether it just be the relationships that she has with the organization, like within it. Again, she could resign. So like none of this is saying like, oh, I'm leaving. It's testing free agency and seeing what it looks like. So nothing in this directly says like, oh, she's leaving Phoenix. So like she could just end up being back with the Mercury. And honestly, I think that's a pretty likely outcome. But I mean, just continue to look through this article. Like Stewie says, there's a ton of free agents here. It's like a one-stop shop to kind of do everything. Yes, everything, including the players talking. And I've talked about this several times on lives and whatnot, but like we've heard so many different aspects of free agency already going down, whether it's players themselves like Satou and Courtney Vandersloot talking to the media in regards to their free agency, whether it be Angel Reese talking about, okay, I'm talking to Chicago and I'm saying, hey, they have X, Y, and Z. We need X, Y, and Z in our facility. Like that is something you hear Alyssa Thomas talking about. Yeah, we don't got these type of facilities back in Connecticut. There's so many different aspects. And now you're bringing the organizations into Miami to have these free agent conversations as well, where you have everyone housed in one city. And it completely changes the dynamic of WNBA free agency. And again, Do I think that Unrivaled is the league for Brittney Griner to show off her skill set? No. But I do think for other players, we are seeing that the skill set you can show there is legit. Do I think it favors guards? Do I think it favors wings? Yes. But you can still show that skill set in just a grand scheme of WNBA free agency. But let's keep going. There's conversations for sure. Everybody's like, hey, you want to come play here? Said Vandersloot, who has meetings with this week with multiple teams. I think it's great. It gives you an opportunity to get like real honest feedback about teams and say who wants to play with each other. We're at a time in the league and there's going to be a lot of player movement. Unrivaled has completely changed the landscape. Completely changed the landscape. I mean, these conversations have obviously already been happening, to a point. But this is, again, Natasha Klav is the best place to be able to recruit free agents, like when she was asked about Satou. And even here, Otis Thomas saying, I'm going to weigh all my decisions. But the big nugget here at the end as well, one free agent who is not at Unrivaled is Diana Taurasi. The WNBA's all-time leading scorer is still weighing her decision on whether to retire or come back for another season. The potential of Phoenix looking like a completely different team and, frankly, franchise going into this next WNBA season is way higher than I had ever anticipated. Obviously, if Diana Taurasi does not decide to come back, that changes your entire outlook of Phoenix. We don't know Phoenix without DT. So that alone changes what this franchise looks like going forward. But BG is also a staple there at this point. 100% a staple there, a staple within the community. Obviously, all of everything that went down with Russia and the way that the league, the organization came together for BG was incredible. And I remember being at the All-Star weekend that year, covering it and being credentialed and hearing about BG's return, her first All-Star weekend back, and like, just hearing everyone talking about that was super dope, and a lot of that had to do with the and then hosting in Phoenix this year. We heard a lot of different things about that as well. So it's just like, across the board, and again, it's not confirmed that she's leaving Phoenix, it's that she's hearing other teams out. I don't see a place that's better for Brittney Griner than Phoenix. I don't. It's not a team that comes to mind where I'm like, yeah, them. Like when it comes to filling this out, and I don't know, nothing. I mean, these are just kind of the raw reactions here to this news breaking. There's no other team. Like you look at potentially, the team that kind of comes to mind when it comes to any of these players with these type of pedigree is the Las Vegas Aces. Especially if Kelsey Plum leaves and, you open up some of that cap space. But I don't love the fit next to Asia Wilson in that way. If you just kind of run down the league right now, if Dallas, you wouldn't take her. Just going down the league. Sparks, you're set. Seattle, assuming you sign NECA, you're probably good on that. You got Ezzy, you got NECA, you're good. Golden State is certainly a team that didn't draft a true five. But honestly, it kind of sounds like Golden State is going more towards kind of the Unrivaled style of pace and space in what they want to play as a team. Brittney Griner doesn't really fit that. Maybe like a Minnesota to try and address, at the right price to try and address some of their size concerns potentially. That was something that I know we talked about a lot during the playoffs here on Cast Space. Was they have good bigs, but they don't just have a true genuine size in that way. So maybe they see that as a solution. Cheryl Reeve and BG, obviously the Team USA connection there as well. So that is a potential landing spot. New York, I don't see it. Indiana, I don't see it. I think they play at too fast a pace. I don't think that Atlanta would choose Brittney Griner over Tina Charles after last season. In Connecticut, if you're staying put with who you have, you don't add Brittney Griner to that. You have presumably you try and re-sign Bree Jones. I mean, truthfully, there's just not a lot of places for BG to comfortably slot into. And I think personally, just off raw reaction, it would be a mistake to leave Phoenix. And like Vegas would be the only team in Golden State that I could see really being a potential landing spot, just off the top of my head, off rip. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, though. I'm very intrigued. I'm here again. This is just the raw reaction. I don't see it with anywhere else outside of Phoenix right now. But again, I mean, this is crazy. This is not news that was anticipated by any means. Again, conversations can open up today. I believe it's February 1st, where teams can actually sign players. But this was not in the cards for free agency. And of course, as well, DT is going to soon. Assuming that DT is not going to want to take a pay cut, which has kind of been the norm, and like, I think he's going to give it to you. Hey, who am I to knock it? From a player perspective. Now, Phoenix perspective, it might be a different conversation, but this is just completely. We might see a completely new Phoenix Mercury, and honestly, from a franchise perspective, that might not be the worst thing to try and start resetting a little bit. Obviously, these drafts coming up are going to be massive. But you also have players like Kalia Copper. You have Natasha Cloud. You have solid players on this team. And so, you're kind of at a weird point where, like, you have solid pieces. You don't want to fully complete reset. This isn't a complete rebuild, even if DT and BG are not there. This is not a complete rebuild. But how do you fill those gaps up will be super intriguing going into this season, assuming that, if DT retires and BG does decide to leave. I don't know what that team looks like and what the next steps would be in that case. I'll tell you right now, the very first player that comes to mind to start filling some gaps, though, is Emma Miesemann. You have facilities. You have the money at that point. You'd have the space for her to slot into and be a part of this Phoenix Mercury team. So that is the first player that comes to mind, but we're not even 100% sure truly if Emma Miesemann is on the way over back to the WNBA. So a lot of questions to be asked of Phoenix. I'd be very interested in knowing what those multiple teams meeting with Brittney Griner. Well, I would love to know who those teams are because, again, there's not a ton of like glaring teams where I'm like, yes, BG there. I don't really have that. I'll tell you the other massive nugget to kind of come out today was from The Athletic with Satou Sabally and the Indiana Fever. I know a lot of people are very interested in figuring out what this Satou Sabally situation ends up in. I know myself and Shawnee have been beating the drum for Satou to Indiana. But this was the quote from an Athletic article with free agency predictions. So this is not direct kind of reporting, but there's a little bit of hearsay and a little bit of nugget here from The Athletic that I wanted to point out. I'll read the paragraph here. There also isn't a perfect fit for what the Fever require in this free agency class unless they can trade for Sabally. She could toggle between playing the 3 and the 4, providing the necessary defensive spacing to surround Clark in Boston. I completely agree. It's risky to trade for Sabally for one season, and here we go. Talk around the league is that Indiana is not one of Sabally's preferred markets. Uh-oh. So, first off, if you're not one of the preferred markets, plural, New York has got to be on the list. I fully believe that New York is on the list for Satou Sabally. Where else? Is it Golden State? Again, Golden State is could completely flip everything on their head when it comes to free agency in this offseason at any point. And truly, we don't know the free agency strategy of Golden State until we know the free agency strategy of Golden State. We need to actively see it. So that'll be super interesting to see. Could it be Atlanta? Question mark. Maybe they have obviously some good players to trade. I mean, it feels like from a basketball perspective, Indiana or New York just makes sense in that way. From a basketball perspective, I feel like Indiana makes the most sense, but obviously Satou Sabally has the final say here. And if this reporting from The Athletic is, accurate in this and how it plays out, and, assuming that isn't one of her market destinations that she is interested in, I don't feel like there's a ton of different options to go around. Minnesota could even potentially be an interesting one. Phoenix as well, honestly, could be. If to go play with Ka, you get the facilities. I mean, it's honestly not terrible, especially if that money opens up. But and the Phoenix owner has very clearly shown that the appetite to win quickly, both in the NBA and WNBA, in terms of making those star moves. So if that is a place that she would be interested in going in, I can kind of see it there. But I mean, again, to me, from a basketball perspective, there is no better place for her to fit in on court than Indiana. But again, if Satou doesn't want to go there, then Satou doesn't want to go there, and there's nothing you can do about that. This is again essentially a no trade clause for Satou Sabally right now under the core designation. So for her to decide that she doesn't want to go to Indiana, close the book on that right then and there. Again, with that being said, New York feels increasingly in the lead position to make this happen. But for under the radar teams, I think Golden State is certainly a possibility. Just the idea of being able to go there, the eye for international talent is obviously there in Golden State. From what we know about kind of their style of what we've heard from Natalie Nakase, Satou would fit that. But again, I think a Phoenix team could be a potential landing spot. If you like the facilities, if you're buying what they're selling there. Minnesota kind of getting a wing would be interesting in that way. I don't think that's very likely, but just from a basketball perspective, just now kind of pivoting away potentially from the Indiana fever and thinking of other spots. That is another potential place. We had a whole video on here on No Cap Space you can find. We really dove into all the potential landing spots for Satou Sabally when she made the quote in the media availability at Unrivaled to basically say she's played her last game in Dallas. That's exactly what she said, actually. So to now see this development, it's pointing towards New York. It really is. But that's what free agency is for. We got to figure out what's going on. All these conversations are going to happen. As these conversations develop and we get more reporting, we'll be here to bring you the reactions, to give you the breakdowns, to let you know how we're feeling about all these moves. Obviously, Unrivaled coverage continues. College coverage continues. We got a whole lot in the pipeline here at No Cap Space over the next month or so. There's a lot to be excited about. Go check out Ball Up Top as well, nocapspacewbb.com, our weekly podcast. You can see some of the video clips here, but to listen to the full podcast in its entirety in audio form, you can go find that on your favorite podcast platform and nocapspacewbb.com. And yeah, a whole lot of stuff going on across women's basketball right now. What a time to be a fan. It's a 365 year-round sport, and we'll be here to cover it all at No Cap Space. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, comment. Let us know. Look, I'm very interested. Where do y'all think these players are going? I'm very interested. I want to hear y'all's comments down below. Let me know. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time.